Hello, today's video is brought to you by Sparkle Paper Towels and my paper towel holder. That's what I'm using to try to prop my camera because that's just what I've got to work with. So if you see paper towels in the middle of the video, that's why. All right, we're going to look at some patterns and relationships today. So number one says Dan and Iris are running around a track at the same time. They are both running at constant rates. That means they're not speeding up, they're not slowing down. Dan is running at 6 feet per second. Iris is running at 9 feet per second. Dan starts 36 feet in front of Iris. How long does it take Iris to catch up with Dan? So what I did was I made a little chart that shows the seconds that have passed and then how far Dan has run in feet and how far Iris has run in feet. So I know that they're both running at constant rates at the same time. Dan is running at 6 feet per second. So that means that his pattern is to add 6. It also tells me that Dan starts 36 feet in front of Iris. So at the very beginning, before they've even actually run anything, when their seconds are at 0, Dan is 36 feet away from Iris. And then his pattern is to add 6. So every time we add 6, I'm going to fill in the next number of his pattern. Iris is starting at the starting line, so she's at 0 feet at 0 seconds. And her pattern is to run at 9 feet per second. So the rule for her pattern is to add 9. So to get Iris's next few numbers, I'm just adding 9 each time. What you're going to find is how long does it take Iris to catch up with Dan. That means that if you draw the chart and continue both patterns, there's going to be a point where Dan's feet that he's run and Iris's feet that she's run are going to match and be equal. And then you need to look and see how many seconds have passed when that happens. Number 2 says, this shows a pattern, 7, 12, 5, 9, 3, 6. Which grid shows the coordinates for the next ordered pair in the pattern? And as we talked about in the last video, a lot of times you're going to see questions where they've got 2 patterns going on, an X pattern and a Y pattern, and they've put them in ordered pairs and sometimes even graphed both patterns. So if I look at my X numbers and my Y numbers, excuse me, my first X is 7, my second X value is 5, and my third X value is 3. For my Y values, I have 12, 9, and 6. Okay, so the question wants to know which grid or which graph shows the coordinates for the next ordered pair in the pattern. So I'm finding the very next term in each pattern, and that's what they have graphed. So if I look at X, I can see that the numbers are decreasing by 2 or going down by 2 each time, which means my next X value is a 1. My Y value, the numbers are decreasing by 3 or subtracting 3, which means my next Y value is a 3. So my next ordered pair is going to be X always comes first, and then Y, or 1, 3. Okay, I'm going to put that down here in the middle of the answer choices. So you look at the graphs and see which one matches an ordered pair of 1, 3. Number 3 is another one with a coordinate grid or a graph. 4 points are plotted on the grid. The pattern of these points will continue. So first of all, I'm just going to see what ordered pairs I have so far. I have 1 on the X axis and then 1 on the Y axis. So my first ordered pair is 1, 1. My second ordered pair, I have 2, 3. Remember, the X value is always going to be listed first, and that's this axis that is horizontal. For my third point, I have 3, 5. And my fourth point is 4, 7. Okay, it says the pattern of these points will continue. And then my question says, when the value of X is 5, how can the value of Y be found? So first of all, I need to keep going with this pattern. For the X value, obviously they're just adding 1 each time, so my next X value is 5. For the Y pattern, I can see that each time they're adding 2 to get from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7. So from 7, if I add 2, my next Y value is going to be 9. Okay, so then again, the question says when the value of X is 5, how can the value of Y be found? And we know that Y equals 9. So choose which answer choice would also produce 9 as your answer. Number 4, a pattern using values for X and Y is graphed on the coordinate grid. This is really similar to the problem we just did. So my first point has an ordered pair of 2, 1. My second point is 4, 2. My third point is 6, 3. And my fourth point is 8, 4. Okay, remember the X value is always listed first, and then the Y value is always listed second. So the question says which statement is correct regarding the values for X and Y. Okay, again, we have the X values on the left, the Y values on the right, and you're going to choose which one is true. Number 5, there's those paper towels trying to be, get their moment of fame in the video. Okay, Valerie has 2 patterns of numbers. The first pattern starts with 1 and follows a rule of increasing by 1. Increasing by 1 just means I'm adding 1. So we have 1 plus 1 is 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. The second pattern starts with 29 and follows a rule of decreasing by 3. Decreasing by 3 means I'm subtracting 3. So she has 29, minus 3 is 26, minus 3 is 23, so on and so forth. Which number represents the point in each pattern when they are equal? So you're going to continue each pattern, adding 1 for your first pattern, subtracting 3 for your second pattern. And then you're going to see at what point are the numbers going to be equal. Make sure you keep everything lined up, your corresponding numbers. So this is the first term in this pattern and the first term in the second pattern. Second term, third, third. You want to keep all the corresponding numbers lined up as you're doing your patterns.